Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. 41 minutes after 6 o'clock. Just giving you a time update in case you needed it this morning. But we're about to have an interesting conversation about AMCHAM's T&T's 26th Annual Health, Safety, Security and Environment Conference and Exhibition, where Atlantic LNG is in fact the title sponsor. This morning, I want to welcome the Senior Trade and Policy Specialist at AMCHAM T&T, Melissa Pear, as well as the Vice President of HSSE at Atlantic LNG, Imtiaz Isahak. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. I want to start with the importance of HSSE in businesses and the workplace. Why is it so important that we have a whole conference about it? Melissa, I'll start with you.
Okay, so morning and thanks for having us. It's important because we understand the value of our employees. Mm-hmm. And if we can do our work and do our work safely, that's important. And that could actually be a competitive edge for companies. So we have an entire conference. This is the 26th year we're doing it because really of the importance of health and safety in the workplace. What we've been doing over the last few years really is continuing to be on that cutting edge as to why health and safety is important and what are those important topics. So health and safety and security, for example, have evolved into cybersecurity, right, which is the biggest threat, I think, right now for businesses, and therefore the conference is dealing with that as well.
Imtiaz, as far as Atlantic LNG is concerned, I mean, HSSE would be a major factor.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, complementing what Melissa said, in terms of the landscape of HSSE and the way we are evolving, HSSE, it's about a learner mindset, and it's always about continuously improving and getting better at your baseline, you know. So, you know, over the years, we've learned so many different things from different industry. So a conference of this nature is really timely. For example, you know, we've spent a significant portion of this year coming out of the pandemic, right, and actually transforming our organization into something, you know, that we really didn't conceptualize before. And to do that and do it successfully, it means to say we've really moved a long way. So it's really about that learner mindset, the things that we ought to look at. But also, the other thing is that things are changing so quickly in the environment. The whole landscape of the energy industry has been changing. And obviously, when we see facilities now, when they were designed 20, 25 years ago, it was different. So we have aging assets.
But the technology helps with some of that, I assume.
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. But also it's about what emerging technology now we can utilize to help us in the HSSE framework. Yeah. Right? And as a matter of fact, we see digitalization playing a very significant role now in the HSSE framework.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this whole conference is about reimagining HSSE, and I guess that's kind of where the conversation has already gone into how we going forward with it. But I was reading up on it, and I realized that there had some things that were very interesting that weren't in my head a part of HSSE. I would have put it under HR, right? And that's the DEI stuff. Let me see if I don't want to misthink it. There's
Diversity,
equity and inclusion, DEI. How come this is under HSSE for this conference and not HR? I just assumed it was always an HR thing.
So it is part of HR,
right,
but understanding as well HSE issues are HR issues. If someone is hurt on your plant, on your company, HR gets involved, right?
Yeah.
So it is very difficult, I think, to separate the two. And also what we've recognized is that we need to ensure that people are bringing their entire selves to work. And therefore,
we sure we want that?
We definitely want that, because you need to be empowered enough to speak up and say, this is wrong, we need to stop. And that's really what that whole diversity and inclusion is around employees feeling, regardless of where they fall on that organizational chart,
structure,
you know, being able to say, this is unsafe, let's stop it. But if you have to hide, if you don't feel that your opinion is valued, you're not going to speak up, and therefore, you know, that can lead into accidents. So diversity and inclusion is important for HSE, because you're not going to have safe workers, you're not going to have happy workers if workers don't feel empowered and they don't feel safe. And that's really what we're going to be discussing around psychological safety.
Yeah. I feel like HR is definitely intertwined into this.
Definitely.
All right, so one of the things that I know we also have inside this conference is going to be an exhibition. Tell me a little bit about the exhibition.
So we have just about 43 booths. It's sold out, I'm happy to say. It's totally sold out. What we have at the exhibition really are companies who are on the cutting edge of HSE and cybersecurity. So they're going to have their products/services sort of on display. So you're going to see a lot of what is going on in the space and the field. We're going to look at some of the new technologies, emerging technologies that companies are incorporating. So it is reimagining HSE, not just in the conference, but also in the exhibition.
All right, and Atlantic will be having a booth, I assume, in this exhibition as well.
Yes, well, Atlantic would be the title sponsor this year. I mean, we're really proud and happy to participate and to support AMCHAM in this venture. In our booth, we are actually going to showcase some of the software and programs and tools that we currently use. Without giving away too much, of course, persons who come in, they would see firsthand, demos on how these things operate and how we actually utilize it to help us achieve our health, safety, and security objectives.
Tell me, why did Atlantic LNG choose to be the title sponsor for this?
Well, this is something that we really, really support. If you look at HSSE, we are a significant contributor when it comes to the success of Trinidad and Tobago, and I dare say certain parts of the world, right? Because our LNG goes to markets all over the world. When you look at how we have approached the HSSE space, we have actually incorporated as part of our corporate strategy moving forward. What does that mean? It means that we always have to be reimagining and having that learner mindset. Now, we speak a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is also the space that in which we operate. Every employee, whether it be a permanent employee or a service provider, they bring something significant to the table. It's important for us to establish that sort of safety culture. But not only about Atlantic, it's also about the industry as a whole.
Right.
What can we learn from each other? And how do we shape the culture to meet the future needs of the industry with aging facilities?
How often do we update the facilities?
Well, that's a very good question. There is exercises called risk evaluations, right? Without getting too technical, within a 4 to 5 year span, you actually look at your facility, look at some of the changes that you would have implemented, but also getting an expert to come in and actually look at it. So obviously we would have the expert come in and tell us how our facility design basis, for example, has changed. So obviously we want to be as safe as possible. So we would want to do those reviews every 4 to 5 years.
Okay, just to make sure everything is as updated as possible. Exactly. All right, so back to the conference. You mentioned cybersecurity just now and how important it is. It's so important that it has its own conference running parallel to the HSSE conference. Why is that happening? Not inside the same conference, but parallel to?
So, this year, we're returning after 2 years of virtual conference. So what we decided to do really is to have HSE, continue with the HSE topics because it's important. We have topics from psychological safety to fatigue management, and therefore what we decided to also do was to have cybersecurity give it its own space. So not where it's just 3 sessions, but give it its own space. Cybersecurity is going to be interactive. We're going to ask persons, come with your computers. Let's see what some of these attacks look like. What can you do? So it's really going to be a very interactive space for cybersecurity, but we didn't want to in any way reduce the number of topics that we're going to cover on the HSE. So we have both. And and if that wasn't enough, we added a few sessions as well, because part of what we want to do is we want to make sure that SMEs attend the conference and that they see the value in terms of HSE and they make that commitment as well. And therefore we have some sessions that are geared specifically at SMEs and people starting in their HSE journey.
Now I know some people would challenge that as a SME, your budget would be a little bit limited. And what was the value that they would place on having HSSE in their corporate structure? And is there value to it?
Of course. I mean, and that's why we're taking the effort really this year and we're encouraging SMEs to come on board. We have the regulators coming because part of what you need to understand are some of the things you need to do based on the regulation. At AMCHAM, we don't really support just doing the bare minimum, which is the legislation, but we really talk about best practice. And really, how do you do best practice? Part of what you do, the conference is around sharing of knowledge. And a lot of what some of the leaders, the BPs, the Atlantics, what they are doing are some of the things that SMEs can do without incurring sometimes a lot of cost. So that is what you're going to be exposed to. Some of what is you can do, some of the best practice that you can actually put in place, learn from the leaders. So we have Atlantic there. Atlantic has a booth. The exhibition is also free. So you can actually come in, go and interact with the industry leaders and sort of understand what their journeys have been.
When and where is the exhibition?
It's at the Hyatt. So the entire conference is taking place at the Hyatt. It's 3 days. The first 2 days it's hybrid. The last day it's completely virtual.
Okay.
So it's from November 1st to the 3rd, Hyatt Regency.
And you said the exhibition aspect of it is free.
It's free.
How much is the conference?
The conference is $4,500 plus VAT. Of course, you know, we have different prices if you're just coming for one session, if you're coming for the day, if you're coming for cyber. So there are a number of prices. So just log on to our website.
Get on the website information one time.
It's AMCHAMTT.com,
Right.
and it will take you to the different pricing structure.
All right. So AMCHAMTT.com, you can get all the information that you need on AMCHAM's 26th annual HSSE conference, the premier one in the Caribbean. Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Congratulations in advance. I know it's going to be fantastic, and the information is going to be invaluable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and we come back with more inside the Now Morning Show. Stay tuned.